Hi, Karen Roby and Dallin Adams here for Tech Republic. We've been talking a lot about, hearing a lot about, Dallin, this vaccine passport and this idea of having all of this information available for travel, because no doubt traveling, making your way through an airport can be sometimes a difficult and long process as it is. So adding another step in there now to prove people have been vaccinated, that's going to be tricky. But really interesting conversation that you had regarding a company that's wanting to get involved in some technology that can help here.
Yeah, certainly. To say 2020 was a bad year for the travel industry is a severe understatement.
And yes.
2020 demand for air travel plummeted nearly 66% compared to 2019, and that's according to the International the International Air Transport Association, the IATA. And so, in recent weeks, we're seeing, vaccine rollouts, hundreds of thousands, sometimes more than 1 million people vaccinated each day here in the US. And we're seeing this conversation around the idea of, COVID passports, some sort of digital health credential of some type to display your medical information, and that could have benefits for the airline industry. The IATA has been working on something it calls the Travel Pass, and it's an app-based COVID passport of sorts. And it details a traveler's medical information, vaccine, pre-flight COVID testing, things like that. I spoke with the CEO of Coresight AI, Rob Watts, and the executive. He believed that facial recognition could enhance virtual passport efforts and airport security. He went as far as to say that if this sort of system was put in place, he'd be signing up because it would give him the fast track at the airport and let him bypass the long lines.
Yeah, well, we all want to find a way to skip the lines, right? Or at least cut down on some of that somehow. So what would be the plan here? How would they, utilize what's available technology-wise to help in this?
See, that's the part that's very much up in the air. The conversation for the most part was focused on the idea that the technology is there, the facial recognition technology is there, but then there's the regulatory side that's very much still up in the air. The regulatory side, we've seen lots of surveillance tools deployed during COVID and in workplaces and public spaces. The idea of using thermal imaging to, detect maybe a fever, or using like AI camera footage and monitoring social distancing, and the idea of using an app to store lots of sensitive health data intermeshed with a biometric facial recognition system and passengers traveling from one border to the next. It comes with plenty of red tape, just to say the least, and also raises some privacy and civil liberty concerns. The idea is, yes, the technology is there. This is what he said, but he also highlighted the sticking points hindering implementation and widespread deployment, namely implementing the governance. There were some really choice quotes that come out of that interview, and one of the ones was along the idea of this surveillance concept. He discussed the measures the company has taken to comply with regulations and ensure its software is used appropriately, deployed appropriately with regard to these potential airport and border control applications. During our conversation, focused on technologies and sharing sensitive health information, Watts addressed these underlying privacy concerns. Here's the quote. I'm chief executive of a facial recognition software company. I do not want to live in an Orwellian society. I just thought that was, it was interesting to hear that from the executive of a facial recognition software company, and what it will look like, whether it'll happen, what the next 6 months going to look like, but as these vaccines roll out and some semblance of normality returns in the months ahead, it's going to be really interesting. It's going to be really interesting to see just what happens.
Yeah, most definitely. And a lot of people feeling, I think, because of all of this, feeling like, wow, my privacy has been invaded, and asking questions and health related and all of this. But, unfortunately, that's the happy medium we have to find if we want to get back to normal and travel and do all that good stuff.
Yeah, it's balancing public safety and life as we'd like to live it. It's very complicated.
Mm-hmm. It is very, very tricky and lots of layers to it, Dallin, no doubt. Well, much more, of course, on your article, that facial recognition software, but people need to know, all up on Tech Republic. And we appreciate you guys watching. Hope you'll check it out there.